You are entering a safe space. Please take a moment to center yourself and allow every thought, worry, and care to fall away right now. Focus on taking deep breaths and allow yourself to feel the healing freedom that is waiting to be ignited within you. Welcome to the Loud Whisper Reignite Your Voice podcast. This is your healing space, providing you with hope and inspiration as you become more connected to yourself. Your safe vessel, helping you move to a higher consciousness to reignite your voice and discover who you are destined to be really inside you. I am Isabel Drawn, your host. I am also an author, entrepreneur, and a life transformation and spiritual coach. Most importantly, I am a perpetual student of life, just like you. So let's explore together. Claim what is already inside you. Welcome to the Loud Whisper Reignite Your Voice podcast. This is your healing space, and I am your host, Isabel Drawn. Thank you so much for joining us today. You could be anywhere, but you have decided to join us, and I'm truly honored. I do not take that light. As I always say, where we come to unpack, this is a space where we're humans, we're not doers. We're healing and unpacking and becoming the best version of ourselves. So if you can share with other people, subscribe, I'll be very excited. So again, thank you so much. Today is a special day for me. Starting 2026, I always say God favors me, and God has favored me in the beginning of 2026 by having this guest on my podcast. I can't wait for you guys to hear him. Honestly, I can't wait to hear him. Him and I have had conversations here and there, and I always talk about authenticity and honesty on the podcast. This podcast was supposed to have been recorded before New Year's, I think it was, and time was changing. And then yesterday I was supposed to record it and it didn't work. I mean, everything was just going wrong. But I am a firm believer that when there's so much resistance, that's when you don't give up, because whatever's on the other side is exactly what is needed. So I feel like today, on this Thursday, January 8th, we are on the other side of that resistance, and you guys will be able to enjoy what this is. So I'm going to start first. First of all, I want to say welcome, Stuart, to the Loud Whisper podcast, the healing space. It's an honor to have you.
And it's an honor to be here and a pleasure. And thank you. Thank you, Isabel.
You're very welcome. I'm going to start by saying his bio. So today I'm joined with Stuart Perrin, an international meditation teacher with over 40 years of experience, guiding people into deeper inner balance and embodied spiritual life. That's my type of language. Stuart is the author of Rooted Meditation, Transforming Life's Tensions into Joy and Love, a powerful memoir and instructional guide that explores how emotional, mental, and even sexual tension can be transformed into creative energy, love, and inner freedom. He's a longtime student of Rudy, the American spiritual master who brought ancient Hindu and Buddhist teachings into modern city life. His work bridges spiritual practice with real world living, covering chakra development, kundalini energy, gratitude, inner balance, and the cultivation of an open heart. At his core of his teaching is a simple yet radical truth. When we master our inner chaos, life itself becomes our greatest teacher. Thank you. Thank you so much for being here. I'm excited. Let's jump right in it. So tell us a little bit about yourself. How did you get here? I always ask my guests before we dive into what you're going to share and what you do, how did you get here? 40 years. I know. I read your book. So I'm going to show, because it is going to be on YouTube. This is his book. Make sure you get it, guys. I love it because it was a simple read, but extremely powerful. Layman's terms, not complicated words. You know how nowadays when you read all these books, psychologies, people are putting all these big words and nobody's understanding what to do with it. This one, you read it, it makes sense. It's extremely powerful. I'm actually going to read it again. That's how good it was. So
I
make
can
sure you
explain.
get a copy, guys. Make sure you get a copy. Uh-huh.
I can explain to you how I got involved with a spiritual practice.
Okay.
It started, Isabel, very early in my life. I
Yeah.
was 15 years old. I was with my mother and sister in Miami Beach taking a vacation.
Sure.
And we got a phone call that my father was very sick in the hospital.
Okay.
And we took the next plane back to New York, went to the hospital. My father had about 106-degree fever. He was lying in bed in a kind of coma, and he didn't recognize me, my mother, my sister. And this went on for probably over a week.
Okay.
And then one day I walked into his hospital room, and my father was lying in bed in this deep state of serenity.
Okay.
I could look into his eyes. I could see 1,000 miles. The whole room was full of light. It was, I had never experienced anything like that. I had never seen that in my life.
Sure.
And I took his hand and I said, "Do you know me?" And he shook his head, yes. But there was a silence. There was a peace in him that was extraordinary. And I stepped out into the hospital corridor and I met his nurse. And this woman, God bless her, it's been a long time ago. She changed my life. She said to me, to her experience, just before people die, they go into this deep state of serenity. It's like they've let go of everything, all the tension, all everything. They let it go. And, their eyes become clear and their energy is just one of peace.
Yeah.
I said to myself, why did my father have to wait 49 years to experience this just before he died? How come he never found out how to do this in his lifetime?
Yeah.
It changed my life. I mean, I was a pretty good basketball player when I was younger, and I was getting scholarships in college, and my whole world changed. I said, Stuart, there's someone I also understood I was a very insecure kid. I was a very introverted kid, and I needed to find somebody who could teach me how to get past the chaos in myself, how I can find this inner peace in my lifetime. Well, I went 9 years. I went half around the world, traveling, hitchhiking in Europe and North Africa, and I was on my way to India to meet a Swami. And it was a very painful 9 years, and I finally wound up in Paris, completely broke. I called a friend of mine in New York. I said, "Can you send me a plane ticket back to America?" And he said, yes. So about 2 or 3 days later, I went and found a plane ticket waiting for me at the American Express office in Paris. And I flew back to New York. I was living on the floor of this friend of mine's apartment. I had no money. I was completely broke.
Yeah.
And he said to me one night, "Let's go out and have dinner." So I said, okay, we'll go. There was a Mideastern restaurant we used to like in Greenwich Village.
Okay.
So we're walking on 7th Avenue South. We came to an Oriental art shop, and we're looking in the window. And I used to really like this stuff. I once walked into an exhibition of Tibetan tankas, and I felt like I found my family. I couldn't believe what I was looking at.
Yeah.
And he said to me, "Well, why don't we go in?" I said, "Charlie, I'm broke. What am I going to do in there? This stuff is museums. It costs a fortune." He said to me something I'll never forget. It doesn't cost to look.
It doesn't cost to look. Okay.
So we walked into the shop, and standing in the middle of the shop was this man. And I was attracted to him like a magnet.
Yeah.
Walked up to him, and he started showing me pictures of himself studying in India with a guru. And he started talking about the meditation that he teaches. He said to me, he said, "If you want to study with me, come back here tomorrow at 5 o'clock. As I was leaving his gallery, I looked back, and what I saw coming out of him was the same peace, the same light I saw coming out of my father just before he passed. And I said to this friend of mine, I don't know what happened there, but I got to go meet this guy. I got to go see him again. And, another thing happened, which, my friend used to live in this tenement apartment in Manhattan. It was, at that time, it was a slum. Now it's a high-rise district. Everything is high-rise in Manhattan today. And he said to me, we're walking up the stairwell. We met a guy on the stairwell named Ed Borden.
Mm-hmm.
And Ed asked us to come into his apartment to have some tea. And we said, great. We went into his apartment. This guy in a tenement, and I'm talking bathtub in the kitchen, toilet in the hall, railroad flat, had a $500,000 Oriental art collection in this apartment.
What?
And I'm telling, this is a true story. And I looked at her, I said, where did you get this stuff?
Yeah.
He said, there's a guy in Greenwich Village named Rudy, who was the person I had met an hour before, who I said I have to go back and see again.
Right.
And I said to myself, Stuart, the gods are talking to you. You have once in your life, listen. And the next day, I went down to meet him. It was exactly what I was looking for. Because I spent so much time with swamis and priests and rabbis and all over the world, looking for something that made sense. I mean, I was a kid who was raised in the Bronx on tenements, street kid who was raised in tenements in the Bronx. And all I heard was love, peace, and eat vegetables, chant mantra.
Yeah.
And I used to say to these people, well, how do I get my mind to shut up?
There you go. Yeah.
And nobody had an answer. And when I met Rudy,
mm-hmm.
he showed me a meditation technique that I began to practice. That was the exact thing I was looking for, a way to transform all the chaos inside myself into an open heart, into a quiet mind, into a mastery of sexual energy so that I could quiet it and not allow it to make me crazy all the time. Into really, becoming a master of internal chaos.
Yeah. So what he taught you essentially is becoming a master of self. Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
You spoke about how and I read that in your book, you traveled so many years, the priests, the rabbis and all that. It's very interesting. What was it about them or just even that experience that you didn't receive what you were seeking? Or was it, although you were ready, maybe you were not ready for them?
Right.
Or Rudy was the type of person, that's the teacher that you as a student needed at that moment?
Well, what happened with me is, look, I wasn't very big in my life, pre-Rudy, post-Rudy, of dogma, with religious dogma, and it never really worked for me. And all of these teachers, I had to be a celibate, a vegetarian, I had to follow.
So many rules and regulations.
Rudy was born in the slums of Brooklyn.
Okay.
He was born in East New York. And the two of us, I came from the slums of the Bronx. He came from the slums of Brooklyn. And here is this guy who mastered it.
Met your tribe.
I met my tribe. There's a guy who mastered a technique that was thousands of years old in Hindu and Buddhist religion and enabled one to transform a place like New York City into a sacred place that you're living in.
Yeah.
And I said, my God, why can't I learn how to do this? I have to learn how to not have to follow all these, this dogma and dictation and ways to live and put on a uniform. But how does life itself become sacred?
Yeah.
And that it can teach me everything I need to know about getting closer to God. And here was the first person who had a way to do it. And I tell you, frankly, it really worked for me. It doesn't work for everybody, but it really worked for me.
Yeah.
I needed to learn how, to master my inner life so that my inner life, enabled me to deal with the kind of world that I was living in. And the world that I was living in, even then, back in the 60s, I mean, Vietnam and all the stuff going on was crazy. And I needed to master, how can I turn this into a teacher that is telling me what I need to do to grow inside myself? Not something that's going to hit me, not something that's going to beat me up. I am strong enough to be able to open and embrace life and let it teach me what I need to learn to do. grow inside myself.
Yeah. Yeah. Powerful. I mean, you have so many gems in your book. I could talk to you forever because this is my type of language. Yeah. What I want to talk to you about the inner component. So the inner self. Okay. You write in your book, you write, you discovered that the only person I was up against was me. What did that realization cost you and what did it ultimately give you?
Something I knew about before I began to do this meditation, but I didn't know how to master it. I realized that there was a chakra system inside myself,
Okay.
energy centers. And
Yeah.
these energy centers were a direct link to myself and higher creative energy in the universe. And the reason that I was chaotic inside myself, the reason my mind never shut up, my emotions were like quicksand, my sexual energy, my God, I don't want to talk about it. You know,
I find it interesting. We are going to talk about that sexual energy part. I thought that was quite interesting.
but
Yeah.
anyway, what I realized is I had no mastery over this. You
Mm,
understand? And one of the most powerful instruments we have is the human mind. But
yeah.
it's full of conflict. It's full of tension. It drives everybody crazy. I mean, I used to stand on the corner of Broadway and 72nd Street in Manhattan, and I'd watch people.
Just,
Everybody was in their mind. Nobody had grounding. Nobody had any foundation. Everybody was thinking and daydreaming, and their minds were drifting off. And what I discovered, you can work 12 hours a day digging ditches. The mind will consume more energy than 12 hours a day of digging
yeah.
ditches. It
Yeah.
exhausts people. And my teacher, Rudy, used to tell me all the time people are spiritually malnourished. They
Yeah.
don't have the capacity to connect with higher energy. There are all of these blockages inside and tensions inside that keep that spiritual force from flowing into them.
Mm-hmm.
And this became an unbelievable teaching to me. Stuart,
Yeah.
you are the problem. The problem wasn't in the objective
Mhm.
world. The problem wasn't these crazy politicians and people in business that are trying to consume. The problem was me. I need to get strong enough to be able to deal with all of that and
Mhm.
continue to have a connection with spiritual energy. And that's what I learned from him, how to use my mind, my breath,
Okay.
my
Okay.
will. The
Okay.
need to have a spiritual life is essential, and
Yeah.
how to use those tools to develop a chakra system that gave me the strength to be
Okay.
able to live in the world and be free in the world at exactly the same time.
Mm. So, two things. I'm going to circle back. I wrote something down that I actually like. How does life become sacred? I think if we all stopped for a second and asked ourselves that profound question, how does my life become sacred? And it looks different, I would imagine, right? For all of us. But when you said it, and I thought to myself, just even the word sacred itself had a lot of peace, a lot of grounding, a lot of knowing. And if we could just all ask ourselves right now, especially as you were speaking, when you were explaining about standing in New York and you're watching all these people walk, this spiritual malnourished, it's happening now, I think, probably on a thousandth level. I say that we've become human doers and not human beings. We're not experiencing our being anymore. Our existence is validated by how we're performing and how we're showing up. And I feel that that's why a lot of people are experiencing a lot of, besides the overstimulation with all the information that we have in the world, but a lot of people experience a lot of anxiety due to the fact that you're required to constantly do. And if you ask me, God didn't create us to be that. He says, be still and know that I'm God. For me, I know when I'm in my stillness, that's the most richest time. And if I can go back to what you said, sacred time of my life. And it's unfortunate. My wish right now is for people to be nourished spiritually so we can get back to being. We can get back to having compassion, not only for others, but for ourselves too. And then is when we really can discover or become who we are. But in the state that we are now, we're just moving. And as you say, our mind is controlling everything. So what does that mean? I'm a heart-centered person. So when you're not using your heart, to me, I feel like you're just like a robot. You know, I have conversations with people who are straight intellect, and I will push through. What are you feeling? You know, and I can see that there's that resistance on it, not because they don't want to speak of it, but that's not their strength. That's not something that we've all been conditioned to get in tune with, to get in touch with, is our heart space. I always say the mind may be a powerful thing, but it can never comprehend what your heart knows.
And there's another element to this, Isabel. You know, we all look out at the world, and honestly, what we see is a reflection of ourselves.
Mm.
All of the craziness in the world it reflects the craziness that goes on inside human beings.
Yeah.
If people can find inner peace, if they can find that quiet in themselves, the heart will open. The world we look at will be different. Now, I'm not naive. 8 billion people are not going to do this.
No.
But I do believe every single human being can build inside himself a system that is strong enough to be able to transform the reality that they see. So instead of looking out at life and seeing an enemy, they look out at life and say, what is this teaching me about me? Why did I attract this? What in me is attracted this difficult? Take families, for instance. What in me has attracted me fighting with my parents?
Yeah.
You know, not, oh, my parents are wrong and they're wrong and I don't like it and I hate them. What do I have to change?
Sure.
What do the parents have to change in order to communicate with the child? What do you have to change in order to communicate with greedy people in business? You know, in business. You understand? I mean, I spent 30 years running a gallery in New York. I had a business, and I needed it because New York was an expensive place, and I had to support myself. You know, I don't really have a fee. I've never had a fee for this meditation that I teach. I just ask people now, just donate what you can afford to give. And some people donate $20 a month. Some people donate more. But anyway, I was in business for a number of reasons. Yes, I needed money to live in New York. It was very expensive. Secondly, what was it teaching me about dealing with people who are greedy, have only dollars in their brain, would step over anybody to get success? How can I get strong enough to deal with these people and make my life work in business without them destroying me? And I tell you, being in business forced me one place to get the energy, and that was through the meditation to go to a higher place in myself, to take that Shakti, that spirit, that energy into my system and build the inner strength that enabled me to deal with the business world that I had to deal with without allowing it to suck me dry. Most people, by the time they're 40, when they're in corporations, I mean, they're virtually burned out already.
Yeah.
It consumes their whole life. You know, I always kid around. I say, my meditation classes are like an Exxon station. You got to come to them. It's like a car needs gas.
I love that. You're going to give us a small session before we log off today. I love that. You say you got to.
Car is like a car is like, it needs gasoline to run. People need spiritual force to run. Otherwise, they run on their tension. And by running on your tension, you not only make yourself crazy, you make everybody else crazy.
Exactly. You make everybody else around you crazy. And it's just unfortunate that that's the society that we're in. That is truly the society that we're in right now. And people are just running around like crazy, really sitting down and understanding this doing and moving and acquiring and just, it seems as though we're in a space where every day we're seeking something outside of ourselves. And I tell people, this is what I share with people, whether it's my clients, whether I'm speaking. You will never find safety outside of yourself. You will never find truth outside of yourself. Everything we're seeking is within us. And it's hard for people to understand. It's hard for people to comprehend when everything that they see around them is requiring them to really value and focus on anything and everything outside themselves.
Well, here's the problem, Isabel. In order to do what you're talking about and for
Mm-hmm.
people to learn how to do it, they have to learn how to fix themselves. They have
Yeah.
to get training. They have to learn how to use the mind properly, how to use their breath properly,
Mm-hmm.
where the foundation is inside them. The foundation in a human being is not in the head. The strength in a human being is not even in the heart. The
Mm,
real power in a human being is the chakra that's directly below the navel.
the navel.
You know, the Japanese call that the hara, the Chinese the tatien, and they talk about qi. Qi is the real power in a human being. But
Okay.
qi is something that's dormant in somebody unless they learn how to develop that chakra, how to build that chakra and get strong enough in the core of their being to be
Mm-hmm.
able to be rooted, to have foundation, and this is really what meditation is all about. I always tell my students meditation is not a religion.
Now,
It's a craft.
mm-hmm.
That's all it is. It's a craft.
Mm.
And you learn how a spiritual life is not meditation. A spiritual life is 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, where everything in your life becomes sacred and you're conscious about how you interact with the world. Meditation is a way to learn how to do it. And a
Mm.
spiritual life doesn't mean that you got to go live in a cave somewhere or a monastery or an ashram and commune somewhere. What it means is you just got to build your inner life so that you get strong enough to be able to live in the world and to function in the world without the world sucking your energy dry. Now,
There
I'll
you go.
tell you an interesting story. Okay, this happened to
Mm-hmm.
me years ago.
Okay.
My teacher, Rudy, asked me to go to Texas to teach because he started a meditation group down there. And I went down there, and Isabel, I was working 18 hours a day. I was teaching 2 meditations a day. I was teaching in prisons. I had students in prisons. I had students
Mm-hmm.
in universities. I was teaching a full accredited course in Kundalini Yoga at a university in Dallas. I mean, I was going 18 hours a day. Plus, I
Wow.
was running a business because I had to
Yeah.
support myself, you know, all of this. And my teacher, Rudy, came down and to visit me. And we're standing on the porch of the house. And he says to me, Stuart, you're not working hard enough.
Mm-hmm.
So I said, Rudy, what? What do you want me to do? He said, buy that building. Now, Isabel, the building was a shopping center. It was a strip mall that was right next to my house.
Oh, wow.
So I said to him, Rudy, I have $600 in the bank. How am
Yeah.
I? He said, anyone could do it with money. And he's right. You have $100 million. You can go buy
You can
a
do it.
building like that, you know?
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
said to him, I said, okay, you know, a month later, I bought the building. And what he taught me, Stuart, stop being afraid of money. Stop being afraid of
Mm.
success.
Yeah.
You can build a system inside that can enable you to make money, enable you to have success, and at the same time have a spiritual life. And the way I got the money wasn't by going around and, you know, stealing it, you know, robbing a bank or something. I went inside myself and connected with this higher energy in the universe. And I
Okay.
drew down the force inside myself that gave me the power to do. And within 1 month, I collected enough money to make the security deposit on this building. I didn't even know the building was for sale. I don't know how
Wow.
he knew the building was for sale.
Yeah.
And we opened this ashram I was running. We opened one of the most successful restaurants they ever had in that town. We opened business. I mean, and it taught me none of that interferes with your spiritual. In fact, you need to have that energy to keep the world from sucking all your life out of you. As I say, it's like a gas station. You got to refill your tanks.
You gotta refill
You
the
got to
tank.
refill it. And
Yeah.
what gave it to me was the capacity to stay focused in the chakra below the navel,
Okay.
build the chi. And in building the chi, I could then opened my heart. And my heart had foundation to rest upon. It had strength so it could stay open. It wasn't like an accordion opening and closing every 10 minutes. You win the lotto and suddenly there's great joy. 2 days later, you're back in your head again, with the misery of life. But anyway, what I'm saying is that we live in the world. We have to make the world teach us. Let the world teach us, not make it. Let it teach us.
And it does teach us, if we're still enough. I say that every morning we wake up, we're guided if we choose to listen.
Yes.
Each day, if we choose to listen, you can wake up and fall into this space of what the world is taking you through, or you can wake up and be with yourself and say, I'm going to flow with life, and you will hear guidance as to how you should go. But we're so overstimulated, too much information. No one is sitting down long enough to tap into the most powerful source that they can ever tap into, which is self. So I have a question for you. When I was reading the book, so we talked about mastering the inner chaos. That's what Rudra taught you. And you speak about that. What changes when someone stops trying to control the outside world and instead learns to work skillfully in their inner energy?
I'll tell you the changes very simply. Look,
when they go back in self with the inner self, what changes?
I'll explain it to you in experiences of my life. When I was younger, I was the crazy one in the family.
You were the black sheep.
Whatever. In the family, and I was all over the world. I was there, but they didn't understand me, my family, and they would talk about me like that. When I started getting really successful, not only spiritually but also financially.
Yeah.
When I used to invite my mother, my whole family used to come to parties I would give in Manhattan, and they would walk in. I had a 4,000 square foot loft that was full of art for my business and from living. And they would walk in and it would blow them away. They said, my God, look how this crazy guy is living. Anyway, I used to have classes all the time. My mother had serious problems. She had breast cancer. She called me up one day and she said, well, no, let me backtrack a little bit. My aunt, I was at a party at my family's house. My aunt came up to me and said, Stuart, your cousin Sandy is in the hospital. She has serious cancer. They've given her maybe a month to live. I know you're involved in all this stuff, the yoga and this and that. Is there anything you can do for her? So I went to the hospital and I saw her, and she was very sick. She had liver metastasized. And I said to her, Sandy, do you want to live? And she said to me, yes. So I started doing a healing practice that I learned through this meditation. And literally 2 weeks later, the whole cancer went into remission.
Wow.
We walked out of the hospital. And the doctors couldn't believe it. She was going around everybody in the ward at Sloan Kettering Hospital. You got to get my cousin to work with you. I don't know what he does, but it's a miracle.
But it works.
But it works, Anyway, I said to her, Sandy, listen, please come live in Texas for 6 months.
Sure.
I will teach you all of this. I will teach it to you. And you can use it to sustain your life. She said to me, well, I have a husband, I have children. What am I going to do in Texas? I pleaded with her. I said, please come. I will teach you all this. Anyway, she never came. About 2 years later, she died. The cancer. Now, I've written a book about this. I wrote a book which your listeners should sometime read. It's called Leah, A Story of Meditation and Healing.
Okay.
They can get it on Amazon.
Okay.
And it's a book about a young girl who was 13 years old, and it's based on a true story, who was told by the doctors she had 3 weeks to live. And it was the same process I went through 3 months later, the doctors did whatever they did. It's, X-rays, CAT scans, and they came out and said, wow, the cancer shrunk inside her. We can operate now, and we can take the cancer out, the tumor out. They operated. They came dancing out of the operating room. We got the whole thing. They said the cancer had formed a sac around itself and was beginning to shrink inside her. And I just did the same work with her I did with my cousin. And I've done it with many people, and it's very interesting how it works. Anyway, what I'm trying to get at is we can, if I don't even know what I'm trying to get.
It's so much information. I love it. I'll help you with that. Before we wrap up, this is amazing. I want to go back to the sexual energy part. Yes. Most people won't talk about it. I don't have a problem talking about it. It's part of humanity. We all deal with it. Everybody has sex. Everybody wants to have sex. And we need to know how it's affecting our bodies, our minds, and our spirit. But anyway, so I'm going to read from your book. You said sexual energy has a deeper purpose. It's the area in a human being where the humans transmutes itself into the divine, where the male-female yin-yang Siva Shakti force of energy unifies and gives birth to Kundalini. My question for you is, does that this experience here, what you're saying, the yin, the yang, we all know the yin, the yang, the force, but the energy that unifies and gives birth to Kundalini, does it give birth to Kundalini no matter who you have sex with, or it gives birth to Kundalini depending on the sexual, quote unquote, partner?
Well, it depends on love. It depends on the ability.
That's what I mean. Love, who you're with, or yeah.
No, being promiscuous is not going to do this.
That was my question. I probably should have just asked that.
It's all about being promiscuous is all about ego. It's all about, power over other people.
Sure.
What I'm talking about is surrender and sharing on the deepest levels. And that's really what sex is
letting
about.
Go. Just letting go and sharing yourself.
On the deepest levels. And what I'm talking about is part of the chaos in human beings is this separation of male-female energy. We all have it inside us.
Okay.
That energy has to come together. It has to unify. There has to be a marriage of the male-female in each and every one of us. That marriage takes place in the sexual area. That marriage literally will give birth to the Kundalini, which is the pathway to enlightenment. So we need to bring together the yin, the yang, the Shiva, the Shakti, the male. Every religion has it,
Yeah.
I mean, the God and the Virgin Mary, Jehovah and Shekinah in the Jewish religion. Every religion has it. The union of the male-female principle takes place in the sexual area. And it's a way of learning how to master sex and look, every one of us is a product of sex.
That's a fact.
Without sex, there'd be nobody living. Nothing would be alive.
That's a fact.
So it gives birth. The soul of the universe flows through us.
Yeah.
And it gives birth in the world to humanity. Now, the problem is that humanity hasn't unified all of these diverse forces inside them. And the act of making love, when it's made with surrender, with love, with true compassion and sharing with another human being.
That's when the Kundalini happens. That's what
Kundalini can happen. But this takes a lot of inner strength. This takes a lot of training.
And intention.
I hate to say this, it takes years of learning to develop the chi, the power. I used to teach meditation classes in Kathmandu. I used to have an ashram in Kathmandu, and I would go there 2-3 times a year. And I would teach in Nepal. And there was a temple there that we used to go. Maybe about 20 students of mine, and I would go down to a place called Pashupadinath. And it was a temple. And one of the things that was amazing in this temple was built in the 6th century. It's a long time ago. And one of the amazing things, there were all these sculptures there. And the sculptures were of a Nandi or a cow, a lingam and a yoni, the male-female energies, and a cobra, which was Kundalini. And there must have been 20 of these sculptures. And what it represented in the people that were, practicing the religion, whatever, Hinduism then, was the power of the chi, the power in the chakra below the navel, the union of the male-female principle in the sexual area. And that union gives birth to what they call the naga, the kundalini, the serpent.
Kundalini, yeah.
This goes on in every single human being. And the problem is simple. People have no training. They haven't developed a chakra system yet that is strong enough to do what I'm talking about. And the practice of meditation.
People may want to be in love first. That's the problem in society now. People are so
very frank. It is very hard to love people if your heart isn't open.
Yeah.
If you haven't learned to open your heart. And your heart is not going to stay open if you don't have the strength inside to keep it open.
Yeah.
If the mind isn't quiet.
Yeah.
And one has surrendered all their ego and all their power grabs and their position over other people and who they think they are and their, all this stuff that makes people always at odds with each other.
Yeah.
Love comes through humility. It comes through surrender. It comes through listening to other people.
Yeah.
Allowing other people to teach us, not having to be right all the time. My teacher, Rudy, used to say he'd rather be wrong than right.
Okay.
And that's the first time I ever heard that. He said, if I'm wrong, at least there's something to learn. If I'm right, there's nowhere to go. I know better than everybody else.
At it?
Yeah. So
deep.
all of these things are essential. And what they do is they bring gratitude. They bring, patience. They bring another big one is forgiveness. First of all, to forgive ourselves and then to forgive other people and to understand human beings are blowing it all the time. They're making mistakes all the time. And mistakes are not things that we should beat people up for. They are just a way of learning. I made a mistake. My daughter used to get into all kinds of messes and stuff. And I never lectured her. I would talk to her. I'd say, Ania, her name was Ania. I would say, what did you learn?
Yeah.
What did you learn from doing that?
Yeah.
And she would say to me, you're the only person who asked me that question. Everybody else is blaming me.
They're blaming her.
What did you learn?
I like that you say that because I changed my framing years ago, honestly. Even the word failure, I take that out of my vocabulary because what do you mean failure? First of all, you can never fail at something you've never done before. I always give the example, if you and I had to take an algebra class today, this is our first time taking algebra, and we walk into the class and the professor says, hey, I'm going to give you guys a test today. I guarantee you we will not do that well on that test, meaning we won't be able to answer the questions because we've not experienced algebra. We've not learned algebra. So to me, it's a lesson. And I feel God gives us those lessons over and over again, but society has associated it with failure. So what happens is before we even try, we are afraid. Because like your daughter said, you are the only one who asked me these questions because everybody else blames me. And that's a reality of society. People are afraid to try. People are afraid to be open. People are afraid to even show up authentically as themselves because nobody's going to say, you're not failing. Nobody's going to say, hey, this is just a lesson. Keep going. Either they'll be talked about, or as your daughter said, people are going to blame them, and for me, my mistakes are lessons. These are lessons. Now, if I keep making the same mistake over and over again, there's some form of insanity going on in me at that point. But, sometimes I have to learn a lesson 5 times in order for me to get it because I was not mature enough then when it first happened. Maybe it took me 5 years to be like, oh, that's what that was. And then that's when we say, oh, I wish I could have, woulda. No, this is the time. This was your time to understand this lesson. And that's how I view life.
Well, I've learned in my life that all creativity exists in the unknown. So much of human people are so afraid
I'm
to
gonna
step
write that
into the
down.
unknown because they're
Yeah.
afraid. The book that you're reading of mine, I didn't
Mm-hmm.
finish that book. I didn't believe I wrote it. I really didn't. I
Right.
read that book and I said, Stuart, this book came from the unknown. It was given to you as a gift.
It's so good too.
Yeah, it was given to you as a gift. You have the craft of knowing how to write.
Mm-hmm.
Everything that has been written here was a gift that was given to you from some
Yeah.
creative source.
From the high
You
power.
there's a great composer, Johann Sebastian Bach, whose music I happen to really like a lot,
Mm-hmm.
and Bach was dying. He was dying, right?
Mm-hmm.
All his family, all his students, all his everything were crying and sobbing. And he said to them something so wonderful. He said, "Why are you all so sad? I'm just going to where the music comes from." And
Mm.
it's one of the most amazing
That's
things.
powerful. Why
Yeah,
are you guys so sad? I'm just going to where the
where
music comes
the
from.
music
And
comes.
that's a fact.
Right?
Yeah.
When we're born from where the music comes, and
Yeah.
then we have to learn to transform suffering into an open heart, into love, into
Mm-hmm.
joy, and into being a happy person. And then we
Yeah.
go back to where the music comes from, you know? And if we don't manage to learn it this lifetime, we have to keep coming back again and again and
And
again.
again and again and again.
Finally learn.
I've had to do that a couple times.
Yeah, we
I
all
had
have.
to learn a couple of those lessons a couple of times over and over again. Two things. The first thing, I'm going to ask you one question for us to be able to close it off. But after the question, if you could just do a little bit of meditation with us, something for somebody who's listening to this podcast right now and they're feeling stuck or they just heard everything that you said. They're like, wow, this is so amazing. How can I start? Yeah. So if you could just show us a little bit of your tools or a meditation, that'll be great.
Look, to be honest with you, I prefer it if people, if they're interested in this, to get in touch with
Yeah.
me.
Okay.
Because
They will get in touch with you.
it's hard to show this because people have to learn an exercise. They have
Yeah.
to be taken through it. But if they're really interested, I have never turned anybody down. I don't even have
Okay.
a fee for what I do. You understand? I don't say you
Okay.
got to pay me $50
Well,
or
I'll just ask you just do one breathing exercise with me then.
let me explain it, okay? Look,
Okay.
what we have inside ourselves, as we've been
Okay.
talking, is a system of chakras or energy centers.
Okay.
Chakras are located in what they call the third eye or the mind here,
Mm-hmm.
the throat, the heart, right below the navel, excuse me, the sex, base of the spine, and the top of the head,
Okay.
crown chakra. And the real power in a human being, as I explained earlier, is the chakra right below the navel.
Yeah.
It's the place where all great singers sing from, where all great dancers dance from.
Mm-hmm.
It's the place, that is the real strength inside a human being. And the first step in the meditation I teach is you bring the focal point of your attention, not
Okay.
thinking about it, but you bring the energy of the mind, becomes like a surgical instrument to the chakra right below the navel. You can close your eyes if you want to do this.
Okay.
And you ask very deeply for help to open, to surrender, to grow spiritually. The next step is to open the heart. Now, the easiest way to open the human heart is to feel gratitude.
Yeah.
We all have something in life to be grateful for. Feeling gratitude will open the heart. Then you take a simple breath through your nostrils into the center of the chest. Breath is life. Every time you inhale, you take in all of life. Breath is prayer. Every time you exhale, you're letting go of a part of yourself. So you take a simple breath into the center of your chest, into the heart chakra. You hold it for about 10 seconds. Swallow a little saliva to relax the throat center. and ask deeply in yourself for help to open, to surrender, to grow spiritually. Try to feel the heart center open like a great lotus flower inside you. The next step is to exhale about a fifth of the air. You stop, you wait a few seconds, and then you continue to exhale until you're comfortable. Then you immediately take another deep breath. You bring all the air down to the chakra below the navel. Your mind is there, the breath is there. Deeply ask for help to open, to surrender, to grow spiritually. Again, you hold the breath for approximately 10 seconds. And after that time, you exhale a little bit of the air, stop, you wait a few seconds, and you continue to exhale until you're comfortable. Then you just breathe naturally. But throughout the entire meditation class, it's really important to keep your attention below the navel. Because once the mind leaves that area, the whole system of a human being just goes right off balance. So we need to train the mind, we need to train that chakra, and we need to get the heart open. We need to get the heart open, because if the heart is closed, forget about it. There's no spiritual life. God is love.
God is love. God is good. And God is in everything.
The first time I tried to do this for about 5 minutes. And then it took practice of learning, like anything. You want to be a surgeon, you got to learn how to do it.
Yeah.
To be a lawyer, you got to learn how to, you want to be a carpenter, you got to learn how to do it.
Yeah, sure.
Meditation is a craft, and one has to learn how to do it. It takes time, it takes practice, and above everything, and I'll tell to you and to all your people that listen, you have to have a need somewhere deep inside to have a spiritual life. And it doesn't matter what religion you are, it doesn't matter what you believe, it's completely non-denominational, this meditation that I teach. You can be an agnostic, you can be an atheist, doesn't matter. Every human being wants to be happy.
Yeah.
And happiness is really that step to becoming spiritually, because you develop the highest levels of your humanity. If you become happy inside, a spiritual life is a snap. Just
a snap.
I
love it. I love it, love it, love it. Thank you so much. Thank you for doing that with me. Just the breathing. I like that breathing. I call it what they call it, like the box breathing. I love, love, love that. So I'm actually going to be a part of his students, guys. I am going to go deeper into my meditation with Mr. Perrin. So make sure you join me if you would like that. And it's interesting. What I was going to close out, this is how God works. This is how the universe works. My last question to you was, how do you now define happiness? And you defined it without me even asking you. So with that being said, we couldn't have closed it any other better. We're in sync. The energy is there. I don't know how to thank you. This has been an honor and a privilege, and I would love to continue having a conversation with you. I do know that I will be conversating with you about my own meditation journey, because I do want to go deeper in my journey. And thank you.
Honestly, there are no accidents in life, and God bless you. You're a wonderful human being.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. That means a lot to me. I'm looking forward to continuing to learn from you, and to just share some of the things that you're sharing with the world. I am a firm believer that it's people like you that the world needs right now. It's people like you that the world needs to listen to hear, so we can all come home. I say come home to ourselves and listen to that voice, that whisper. That for me, that's where God speaks the loudest. And again, thank you, sir.
You're welcome, dear. Thank you. Thank you. God bless you.
God bless you too. Thank you.
It was worth waiting for this, huh?
I told you. I don't. When life goes crazy nowadays, I'm like, listen, I understand who the higher power is, right? These are just forces. So I don't give in to that. I'm like, okay, it didn't work today. That's fine. What we going to do tomorrow? Yeah. It was so worth it. Thank you so much.
You're welcome, and thank you. And let's stay in contact with each other.
Oh, you're going to get an email from me today.
Okay, dear. You have a wonderful day.
You
And I
too.
see you soon. God
You
bless you.
too. Take care. God bless you too, sir. Thank you for listening to the Loud Whisper Reignite Your Voice podcast. If you enjoyed today's show, please be sure to subscribe so that you never miss a conversation. I would also be honored if you would consider leaving a positive rating and review on Apple Podcasts. As always, you can connect with me through the links in the description. Thanks again for listening. We're so glad you could join us today and look forward to supporting you on your greatest journey. Have a great day.